Miss Linda here. So today, let's talk about how to journal. Yeah, I'll be sharing some three very easy journaling practices that I use for my self-care and just to keep me grounded and process my own thoughts, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed. If you're new to this channel, my name is Miss Linda, and I talk about femininity, dating, and anything to do with womanhood. So hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my videos. Now, by nature, I'm an introvert, and I process a lot of my things by myself. Push comes to shove, yes, I'm extroverted. I can go, I can stand in front of crowds, I can speak. I can do that whole thing. But naturally, I am introverted. Now, this year has been quite a hectic year for me. I lost my mom 3 months ago. So I've really been trying to process that whole grief thing, and it's literally impacted my whole entire life. So I'm having to relook at my relationships. What is my purpose on earth? And there's so much that I'm having to process. And the best way for me that I find that keeps me very, very grounded, even as I get support from my coaches, my mentors, and everything, I journal. And this is something that is a practice that I've had to build over the last 2 or so years, but more so especially now. So I'll be sharing with you three very easy practices, journaling practices that you can incorporate into your day-to-day life. Now, my first way of journaling, and this is my all-time favorite, trust you me, I've filled up like gazillions of journals with this method. And this is the free writing method. Now, this is the technique I use when I want to just dump everything that's on my mind. And I use this technique mostly in the mornings. I like to get up early. I no longer work 9 to 5, but it's just something that I do. I love to wake up early, or rather, I'm learning to love to wake up early. Some days I feel like I could sleep in a little bit longer, but most of the times I do my best to wake up between 4 to 6 a.m., anything between that period, because I like to ground myself. I've developed this whole morning routine that I honestly feel when I start my mornings that way, I am so much lighter, so much more energized, and just alive. And I flow creatively better when I do my morning ritual. So, and a huge part of that, my morning practice is journaling. And this is where I use the free writing technique. So, what simply that means is I have a very specific journal where I dedicate to this morning practice. And this is what I do. I just write everything that's on my mind, uncensored. Like, I let my ego speak, all my fears, anything I've dreamt about, anything that is on top of my mind, I just write. And I write continuously for 3 pages. And this is something that I have come to love. Like, sometimes when we wake up in the morning, we don't even realize just how much clutter we have in our minds. And I started doing this thing for the last couple of months, and honestly, it's been amazing. First of all, it's helped me to realize some of my deepest fears or what I'm really truly feeling. Because by the time I'm writing 3 pages, I started to notice, like, after a couple of days, there's a particular theme that's coming up. So, case in point, it was a relationship with a really close friend of mine. Every time I started writing what's on my mind, that particular friendship kept coming up over and over again, 3 days continuous. So I'm like, okay, there's something here, there's something I need to deal with. So Free writing is very easy. All you need is a notebook and a pen or paper, a notebook and a pen, and 3 pages. You could start with a small, what do you call this thing, notebook, because even when I tutor some of my clients, some of them are new to journaling. So I tell them, don't put yourself under so much pressure. Get even the small, it doesn't matter the size of the notebook. If you love writing, feel free to get a big notebook, but regardless of the size, the idea is for you to just write continuously for 3 pages. And the guide here would be 3 pages, because over and above 3 pages, now you start to spiral out of control, yeah? So 3 pages in the morning, the whole idea around free writing is to dump everything that's on your mind so that you can start to, it's really just a way of decluttering. Just think about it. It's like going to your wardrobe and checking out what are some of the clothes you've not worn in the last 6 months and removing them and giving them away. So that's the same process you're doing for your mind when you do the free writing technique early in the morning so that you can start your day and declutter your mind. Yeah. So that's the first technique. The second technique, and this is stream of consciousness. Now, this one is more intentional. Okay. And it's really why best used when you're doing like your vision or you're doing your planning, like your yearly planning or your monthly planning. And this is whereby you start to write what are some of your plans. And it's called streams of consciousness because it's beyond, you're now moving beyond your logical mind. You're allowing yourself to dream literally on paper. So, for instance, you're doing your plan for the next 6 months. So you start to ask yourself, what do you want to accomplish? Do you have any goals for your body? What are your intentions for your personal growth, physical growth, mental, spiritual growth? Where do you see yourself in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year? How do you want to feel? How do you want to experience your life? Now, that one, you allow yourself to dream uncensored. And you're doing it from a higher mind. Like, it's not just you, it's really activating your higher level of thinking. That's what I would like to say. And I'm in the process of doing my 1 year personal plan. I didn't get to do that earlier this year because I was so busy with my mom. She wasn't well. So really this year has been all over the place. So this is when I'm feeling a little bit more settled and I'm getting ready to plan my year. And part of it, I'll sit and I will use streams of consciousness. I'll sit down and just think about where do I want to be in the next 1 year? How do I envision my life to be? And I'll allow myself to dream and dream big. And that's what streams of consciousness is. It's dreaming your vision and your plans with the intention of just getting clear in terms of what it is that you want. Okay, so that's the second type of journaling. And the third kind of journaling that's also really amazing that you can also use when you're beginning your journaling journey, I would say, and this is where you're journaling to get to the bottom of your feelings. Okay, so say for instance you've been free writing maybe for a couple of days. I'll use my example of I noticed, you'll probably notice a theme coming up. For me, I noticed a theme around my friendship. There was a friendship that was becoming a little bit tense. I was not so happy with the energy around there. Now, I use this third technique to just help me process what it is that I am feeling. Now, many things will come up when you're doing free writing. Use this third technique to process your emotions deeper. Because honestly, sometimes we go through life and we are not really aware about what we are feeling. Journaling allows you to slow down a bit to really get in touch with the deeper emotions that you may not be conscious about when you're moving on your day-to-day journey. So this third technique, it entails a few steps. So first, you recognize whatever it is that's come up. Yeah, so let me use this instance. I was free writing for a couple of days. What came up was I was feeling strained. I was not feeling happy about the state of my friendship with my friend. So what then I do with this third process is I recognize that I'm feeling not happy about my friendship with my close friend. And then the fact that I recognize that, the fact that that friendship issue has come up, you have two choices, either to ignore it and sweep it under the rug. And what will happen is anytime you ignore something, it only piles up and it will become bigger and bigger and bigger. It will not go away. Things don't magically disappear unless you work through them, okay? So the first step is you recognize the issue that's come up, which is in this case, my friendship. And then the second thing is to acknowledge what feeling am I really feeling around my friendship. So in this particular point, I was feeling sad because I felt we had started growing apart. So I had to acknowledge the feeling that, okay, I'm feeling sad because I noticed my friendship with this really dear friend of mine is drifting apart. And then the third step is to really soothe myself, because I had to now think about, okay, what would I tell my 7-year-old self? Because part of what I was feeling is I was feeling like I was getting rejected by my friend. And yet that is really not the truth. The truth is we had simply grown apart. Okay? So reframing, looking at that, my friendship scenario from, instead of looking at it like she is rejecting me, I now start soothing myself by telling myself, you know what, Linda? No, you're not being rejected. Your friendship has just really reached a point where you are at very different points in your lives. And sometimes it's a natural part of the process to allow things to fade away, because the right people who are for you will still stay by you. Okay, so that is the third step, reassuring myself. Okay, and then the next step is to really think about, okay, if the fact that my friendship, I'm noticing this thing with my friendship, how then will I show up differently? How then will I cultivate different kinds of friendships? Or how will I then work on my friendships? And some of the actions that you can now start to think about is, how are you going to put yourself around people who are more aligned to you? How will you start putting yourself in different circles? Are there maybe skills that you need to cultivate? In my case, I noticed I needed to cultivate more friends who are more in line with the version I'm creating of myself. Are there certain areas in your personality you may need to look at? Because this third type of journaling is really one that you can use for self-growth. It's the perfect kind of journaling that you can use to really look at things deeper, and not just looking at things deeper, but then develop some actions that will help you move to the next level of stage. Okay, so just to summarize, I've mentioned 3 types of journaling that you can use. The first is the brain dump technique, which you just free write early in the morning to declutter your mind. The second type of journaling is the stream of consciousness. This is amazing, where you're using to script your visions, your plans, your ideas, your dreams, your goals, where you just allow yourself to dream big and write. And then the third kind of journaling, this is where now you use to process painful experiences or anything that's making you feel negative, where you recognize the issue. The next thing, you become aware and acknowledge what emotions you're feeling, you soothe yourself, and then you develop some set of actions that will help you not to fall in the same kind of negative space that you're experiencing right now. Now, the last tip I'd like to give you when it comes to journaling, it's best done when you write it by hand. Your hand is an extension of your heart. And when you write using your hand, you allow yourself, your emotions to flow freely through your hand. So this may not be so exciting for those who are used to typing their feelings and emotions. Yes, maybe you may do that, but I highly encourage you to write things down on by putting pen with a pen and a paper. Yeah, so let me know which of these techniques are you going to use, and looking forward to your comments. So speak to you soon. Bye.